Do you ever think back through the bad habits you used to have through life and just kind of want to repeatedly punch the younger version of yourself in the face? So that's something I do a lot. I think back to high school, right? Because you can pull up pictures of me at like age 17, 18. I'm not obese by any means, but I'm definitely nowhere close to in shape. Now, you might think, what a video gaming like nerd, not in shape, shocking. The thing is that I actually was reasonably physically active. I did marching band for all through high school. Doesn't sound like much, but there was a lot of outdoor activity. You got in tons of cardio, tons of calisthenics. You weren't physically sedate, and there was walking around the hallway all day, carrying heavy bags. I even think I tried going to a gym a little bit. I don't think I stuck with it really. And I wasn't even that big of like a snacker or candy eater or chip binger or anything like that. I was really just in bad shape in high school for exactly one reason, and that is soda, particularly Dr. Pepper. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but the truth be told, I probably drank, I don't know, what can we say, maybe 20, 25 cans of Dr. Pepper a week. So I'll let you do the math on that. 180 calories a can, multiply that by that much every single week for years and years and years on end. And I think, I look back on it now and I'm like, that's crazy, right? That's crazy. If you were to leave every single thing about my dietary habits, physical activity, exercise habits exactly the same. Exactly the same, down to every aspect. Take my whole high school experience, consumed exactly the same number of calories, got exactly the same amount of exercise, just cut out the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of cans of Dr. Pepper I drank. I probably would have been in basically excellent shape. And then I kind of start running through these alternate reality scenarios in my mind of like, how different would my high school experience have been in that situation? Maybe that's a cope, maybe that's being ridiculous. Maybe nothing would have been different because I was, in fact, pretty thin and in shape by the end of college, and I still wasn't any kind of life of the party or, popular dude by any stretch of the imagination. So that's probably all bullshit cope. Probably nothing would have been different, but yeah, I have other bad habits I think about. Just the number of hours I spent on the internet. I know people make fun. I have no place from which I can make fun of Zoomers for all the time they spend on their phones, because I was definitely exactly as bad. Really from age 10 onward. My first major one was about 1995. I was relatively early adopter of the internet. I won't say right at the beginning, but I got in there, not ground floor, but maybe like one floor up from that. It was like the Nintendo.com forums at the time, right? I would just spend a lot of hours on there. I look back at it now and I'm like, what a waste of time. But really, the time wasting just got worse and worse through junior high school. And this was pre-YouTube, keep in mind. YouTube did not exist until I was in college. This was more like I was spending a lot of time on forums and people's live journals. It was LiveJournal, Zanga, MySpace a lot of that at the time. I would spend a lot of time reloading that. And I wouldn't just skim, because when I went to high school, people would write out their live journal entries. I would read through the live journals of everyone I went to high school with, right? And I shudder to think how much time I would have wasted had YouTube existed back then if I was 10 years younger. Of course, why would I shudder to think? Because I waste all that time now. Yeah, definitely major issues of procrastination. I managed to swing decent grades. I was able to work through tests, and thankfully there were a couple of smart kids in my school who let me copy a lot of their homework. So that got me through a lot of it. But yeah, terrible procrastination issues. I would never get on projects until right before they were due, even if they were, projects that had been assigned for months. I would just waste so much time on the internet, playing video games. Just horrible, horrible habits. Terrible habits. Terrible sleep habits. I've addressed that in other videos on here. Terrible dietary habits, not the worst, but yeah, I feel angry looking back to think on it, angry at myself. But then again, that almost doesn't even make sense because some of those bad habits I still have. I do watch my health a little more these days. I'm 37 now, so I don't really have much of a fucking choice unless I want to just fall completely apart. But yeah, my procrastination habit isn't much better. But yeah, I look back at high school and I mentioned marching band helped keep me somewhat less out of shape probably than I would have otherwise been. But part of me does think like, what a waste of time. Like I never was good at the instrument. Granted, I never tried to be either. I played the clarinet. Never once practiced outside of class. Never put the damn thing together at home. Never ever never practiced. So I was pretty below average level actually playing the damn instrument. But I could do the marching forms and all that. I was even part of the a team captain senior year because I thought it would help me get into college. But yeah, I do look back on that and I'm like, why did I pursue this form of music? I mean, I never even had the slightest interest. It's a very common teenage fantasy to want to be in a band, sing in a band, drum in a band, play guitar in a band. I never even had that. I never had any interest in that. Never gave a shit. I was never even interested in music up to that level. So certainly I was never interested in playing an instrument and playing classical music and playing in an orchestra. It just seemed like a thing to do. So I did it. And now I look back at that and I'm like, why? Why did I bother doing like AP classes when I didn't want to study or do the test? I didn't care about knowing math or physics or science beyond a high school level. I never looked at any of those things again after high school. I mean, maybe AP English made sense, but because I had an interest in writing, I don't know. Why didn't I do like journalism? Why didn't I do more filmmaking? Why did I wait until I was way into my 30s to start trying to properly write like a novel? What did I sit around fucking doing as a teenager besides playing video games, reloading the same half dozen websites for 4 hours a day, 7 nights a week, 365 days a year, jacking off, watching the same like handful of movies? What did I do? Like, you get one chance at life, and I blew so much of it just doing fucking nothing. I don't even mean that in like some like gotta work, the dignity of work way. Like maybe I should have had a part-time job, even if I didn't fucking spend the money, even if I just put it in a savings account. Maybe something I should have done, worked at a goddamn movie theater, worked at a goddamn 7-Eleven, worked at a goddamn gas station. Probably I should have done that, but I'm not even talking about that angle. Like, might have been good, but I'm more talking about why didn't I work more on things that I was interested in? Like, that's the thing. I spent so much of my life through my teens, through my 20s, going into my 30s, doing stuff I did not give a shit about, really. Like, just doing things I didn't care about. Just going along with not even the pressure of going through the motions anyone else is putting on me. Just doing things to do things. I just think about all the time I've spent severely addicted to the internet. All the times I spent playing the same video games over and over again, and I'm just like, shouldn't I have pursued something? Shouldn't I have tried to do something? Like, why did I not try to write a novel until the 2020s, when it was something I was like planning towards and doing world building for and making ideas for and even outlining stories for, going back to the fucking 1990s. Going back to the 1990s, I was like outlining ideas, like coming up with characters and worlds for novels. Of course, it was all like, hack, Final Fantasy ripoff, Zelda ripoff, Dungeons and Dragons ripoff, Tolkien ripoff kind of shit. Sure, I was 12, 13 years old, of course it was, but why didn't I try to do something a little more? I don't know. I just look at all the time I've wasted, and it's so pathetic. It's so stupid. And just my terrible fucking habits in terms of procrastination, in terms of time management, in terms of building skills that I actually have any interest in terms of doing anything I have any interest in terms of health, in terms of like socialization. just such compounded, ridiculous, absurd wastes of time, wastes of life. I'm in awed shock looking back on it. It's so like ridiculous and absurd. I don't know what I don't know what I was thinking for so much of my life. I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? What was I was sitting around like making plans, making dreams, having fantasies about doing things without actually putting forth the modicum of effort to try to actually do them. What sense does that make? It makes no sense. None of it makes any fucking sense. It's ridiculous. So if for some reason you're 20, 25 years younger than me and you hear this, don't fucking be like me.